Okay, so like imagine, right? You just finished this awesome podcast and then boom, your app like knows and it gives you the perfect next episode to listen to.
Yeah.
And not even just like something else from that show, but like something totally different, but that it knows you'll be super into, you know?
Yeah.
That's what this whole podcast 2.0 thing is about. At least that's what they're saying. It's like AI is going to completely change how we find and listen to podcasts.
Totally. And it's not even just about having like even more podcasts to listen to because, I mean, come on, how many podcasts are there already? It seems like everything's been podcasted about, right?
All right.
This podcast 2.0 is like different. It's using AI to change how we even experience audio, how we find the stuff we want.
We're calling this episode a deep dive for a reason. And we're diving deep into some new research from Germany all about how this podcast 2.0 thing could totally change podcasting.
Yeah.
And like for everyone, not just people listening, but also the people making them too.
Totally. Yeah. And it's about time. It's not just about having more podcasts. It's about using AI to completely change how we discover, how we interact with, even how we create audio content.
So does that mean like no more scrolling forever on those podcast apps trying to find something new?
Exactly. Like imagine you want to listen to something about, I don't know, how about Hemingway?
Okay, yeah.
Let's say you want to find an episode about how he used metaphors.
Yeah, good luck finding that.
Right. But imagine if instead of like just looking at the episode titles or trying to guess from the category, what if the AI listened to every episode out there? Like listen to, I guess, all the transcripts and then could tell you exactly when they talk about metaphors in Hemingway.
That would be amazing. Think about all the time you'd save.
Right.
No more like having to scrub through hours of audio to find the good stuff.
Exactly.
That's already blowing my mind. But it's not just for listeners, right? What about the people making these podcasts? What does AI do for them?
Oh, man, that's where this gets really interesting. So think about it, right? All the stuff you got to do to make a podcast.
Oh, I don't even want to think about it.
Right. Transcribing interviews, editing the audio, even like some people make their own music and stuff.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's so much work and it takes so much time.
It's like a full-time job for sure.
This podcast 2.0 thing, it sees AI as like taking over the boring stuff so the podcasters can just focus on the fun stuff.
The important stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like making their stories really interesting, sharing their views, you know, and connecting with all the listeners.
It's like AI gives podcast creators superpowers, right?
Yeah.
So they can do more of what they're good at.
Exactly. Imagine if all that time they save on the boring stuff, they could use to like try new stuff, new formats, you know, make their podcasts even better.
I love it.
This could change everything about how we listen to stories.
That's super cool. So this podcast 2.0 concept, it's already blowing my mind, but it gets even crazier. This research from Germany hints at some really futuristic possibilities with all this AI stuff.
Oh, yeah, they go there.
So tell me, what's the most sci-fi idea they're exploring?
Get ready for this. Real-time translation. Like, imagine a world where you could listen to any podcast in any language.
Wait, hold on. Are you serious? You're saying I could understand a podcast in, like, I don't know, Japanese?
Yeah.
Even though I don't speak Japanese.
Exactly. Like, let's say you're totally into Roman history and you find this amazing podcast, but it's hosted by these archaeologists in Rome and they only speak Italian.
Okay, yeah, that's cool and all, but I don't speak Italian.
Right. But now imagine you put on your headphones and boom, it's translated for you.
Whoa, no way.
Perfectly. In real time.
Wow, that's incredible. Think about it. You could listen to anything, talk to anyone. We could have like global podcast conversations. If language isn't a barrier anymore, it's like a whole world of audio content just opens up. That's amazing, right? But all this personalized stuff, knowing what I want to listen to, real-time translation and all that, makes you wonder, like, how does it even work? How much does this AI need to know about me to do all that?
That's the big question, right? And the researchers in Germany, they actually talk about this a lot in their paper. They say that for all this to work, the AI has to look at your listening data, like what you listen to, obviously, but also like when you listen, how long you listen for, all that stuff.
So it's not just about like recommending podcasts. It's like it really knows how I use podcasts. That's kind of wild.
Yeah.
It makes you think about like all the responsibility that comes with all this new technology, you know?
Totally. Yeah. And the researchers say that's super important. Like if they're going to use our data to make these amazing podcasts, we need to know how it works, how they're using it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's about building trust, not just like, you know, better algorithms or whatever.
Right, exactly. Because like, I don't want to give up all my privacy just to get a good podcast recommendation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
It seems like it's about finding that balance, right? Like, yeah, all this AI stuff is cool, but we can't forget about the ethics.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really important point. And this is something else the research talks about, this idea of like what happens to the human element of podcasts with all this AI?
That's interesting.
Like, will podcasts still feel like, personal and real if a computer is doing so much of the work?
Yeah, that's a good point. It's like, will we miss hearing the host's cat in the background or like them messing up a word and having to start over?
Totally.
Those little imperfections are what make podcasts so relatable.
Exactly. And that's actually like a really important part of this whole podcast 2.0 thing. It's not about like getting rid of humans altogether and having robots make podcasts.
Right, right.
It's about helping the humans make even better podcasts.
I like it. It's not about robots replacing humans. It's about robots being like assistants, right?
Yeah.
Helping them make even cooler stuff.
Exactly. Like, imagine if podcasters could spend less time editing audio and more time, I don't know, like researching their stories, going really deep on the stuff they're talking about.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Or like using really cool sounds and music, or even making the podcast interactive.
This is really making me rethink what a podcast can be. We've gone from simple audio downloads to like personalized recommendations, real-time translation, and now AI is helping make them too. It's a lot. It's hard to even wrap my head around it all. What about you? What's been the most surprising thing for you in all this? I don't even know where to start. Like having a podcast that's basically made just for me, that's super cool. But then you throw in the real-time translation and the AI helping make the episodes. It's like, where does the line even get drawn? Like, are we all just podcast creators now?
That's such a good point. And I think that's what this whole podcast 2.0 thing is really getting at. It's like we're not just talking about making podcasts a little bit better. We're talking about totally changing how we even think about them, how we make them, how we listen to them, everything.
All right. Like, podcasting has been around for a while, but this feels different. It's like bigger somehow.
Totally. And I think that's what's so exciting about all this. Like, we're standing here looking out at this whole new world of audio, and we get to be the ones to figure it out.
So what's next? This research from Germany. It's like looking into the future, but it still feels so far off,
I think the most important thing is to stop just thinking about it and actually do it. We need people making podcasts to actually try this stuff out, using AI to help them. And we need the platforms to get on board too, make sure they're being open about how it all works. And then, people listening, we just have to be open to trying new stuff.
It's like everyone's got to work together to make this happen. Podcast creators, listeners, even the tech people, we all have a part to play in this whole podcast 2.0 future.
Exactly. And you know what the coolest part is?
What's that?
We're just getting started.
That's a great place to leave it. The future of podcasting is out there, waiting for us to make it happen. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, and until next time, keep those ears open and those minds curious.